The wind howled across the dusty plain. Two moons hung high in the alien sky, casting a silver glow over the small human outpost. Inside the quiet building, Callan sat at his workbench, repairing a cracked solar panel. It had been another long, silent day on this remote moon. He hadn't seen another human in weeks. Callan was used to being alone. He was a maintenance engineer, sent to keep the outpost running while the rest of the research team rotated back to Earth. He didn't complain. The peaceful environment suited him. But deep down, sometimes he wished for someone, anyone, to talk to. Just as he stood up to stretch, a loud noise echoed outside, like something heavy collapsing in the dirt. Frowning, Callan grabbed his flashlight and stepped out. The wind hit him hard, pulling at his jacket. He scanned the darkness until the beam of his flashlight landed on a figure lying near the base of the outer wall. "Hey," he called out, hurrying over. "Are you hurt?" The figure didn't respond. As he got closer, Callan's breath caught in his throat. It wasn't a human. It was a woman. At least, mostly. She had soft, pale blue skin with faint purple tones. Her ears were slightly pointed, shaped almost like leaves. A torn robe clung to her body, and strange markings shimmered on her arms. Her chest rose and fell slowly. She was breathing, but barely. Callan knelt beside her. "Hey, you're going to be okay," he said gently. "I'm not going to hurt you. Can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open, brilliant violet, full of confusion and fear. She tried to speak, but only a weak sound escaped her lips. Without wasting more time, Callan carefully lifted her and carried her inside. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. Inside the outpost, he laid her down on a cot and brought over a thermal blanket. She shivered slightly, her eyes scanning the room. "You're safe," he said, kneeling beside her. "My name's Callan. I'm human. You're in a research outpost. What's your name?" She swallowed hard. Sierra," she whispered, her voice soft and musical. "Please, don't let them find me." "Who?" Callan asked, surprised. "Are you being chased?" Sierra turned her head away. "My people. They're looking for me. But if they see me like this, they'll destroy you." Callan blinked. "What? Why would they destroy me?" She closed her eyes. "Because I broke a sacred rule. And now, because you helped me, they'll think you've claimed me." "Claimed you?" Callan echoed, confused. But Sierra was already unconscious again, too weak to speak more. Callan stood up, his mind spinning. What did she mean by claimed? What sacred rule had she broken? And why did her people care that he helped her? He looked down at her. Despite her alien features, there was something gentle and vulnerable about her. She didn't seem dangerous. In fact, she looked like someone who had been running for a long time. Callan grabbed his medical kit and got to work. She had a long cut on her leg and bruises on her arms, but nothing life-threatening. He cleaned the wound and bandaged her leg as carefully as he could. By the time he finished, the twin moons had dipped lower in the sky. The wind outside had quieted. Sierra stirred again, her eyes slowly opening. "Why did you help me?" she asked softly. Callan gave her a small smile. "Because you needed help. That's what we humans do." She looked at him with wonder in her eyes. "Even for a stranger from another world." "Especially for a stranger," he said. "You're safe now. Just rest." A tear slipped from the corner of her eye. I can't go back like this." "Not unless." "Not unless what?" Callan asked. She hesitated. "Not unless you mark me as yours." Callan froze. What?" Sierra turned her face away, ashamed. "It's our law. If a male helps a female during her vulnerable state, the only way she can return with honor is if she belongs to him." Callan stared at her, stunned. He had just wanted to help someone in trouble. Now somehow he was part of a strange alien custom he didn't understand. Outside, the wind began to rise again. and in the distance, lights flashed in the sky. A ship was coming. Callan stood by the window, watching the distant lights move slowly across the sky. A ship was definitely approaching. It wasn't human. He had checked the comms. No messages, no known signals. That meant one thing. Sierra's people had found her. Behind him, the alien woman sat up slowly on the cot. Her face looked tired, but her violet eyes were sharp and focused now. The color in her cheeks had returned slightly, though she still held her side where the bruise was deep. "I don't have much time," she said quietly. "They're looking for me." Callan turned around. "Why would your people hunt you like this? You said something about a rule, something about being claimed." Sierra lowered her eyes. Her voice was soft. "In my culture, when a female is rescued during what we call a vulnerable state, like injury or sickness, she becomes unclaimed. It's a belief tied to old traditions. If she is aided by a male, especially one not of her kind, and survives, she must be marked by him to return with her honor." Callan blinked. "Marked? How exactly?" She looked up, her cheeks slightly colored. "It's a symbolic bonding. Not physical, not the way your people might imagine. It's a ritual, a way to show that trust and connection were formed. Without it, I would be seen as broken or disloyal." Callan sat down across from her, trying to understand. "So if we don't do this ritual, they'll take you away, or worse." Sierra nodded. "They may erase my memories, remove me from service, or cast me out. They believe I can only return if my rescuer claims responsibility for me through the mark." "And I'm the rescuer," Callan said slowly. "Yes," she whispered. "And you're human. That makes it even more complicated." Callan ran a hand through his hair. "This is a lot to take in, but I want to help you. I didn't save you just to watch you be punished." She looked at him, her voice trembling slightly. "Then you agree to the ritual." He hesitated. "What exactly does it involve?" Sierra reached into the folds of her robe and pulled out a small silver device. It was round, no larger than a coin, with tiny blinking lights. "This is a bond disc. It reads energy patterns from both people and creates a neural link. Temporary, but enough for the ritual. We share a breath, touch foreheads, and let the disc form a pulse reading. Then we say a short vow." Callan stared at the device. "That's it. That's it," she said, then added with a weak smile. "Unless you're secretly a prince, and your people expect royal dances and fireworks." Callan chuckled. "Sorry, just an engineer." He reached forward and took the disc from her. It felt warm in his palm, almost alive. Outside, the lights had moved closer. He could now see the outline of the ship, sleek and curved, with glowing blue rings underneath. It was scanning the area, slowly circling. "We don't have long," Sierra said. "Once they land, they'll take me." Callan looked at her, this strange, brave alien who had appeared at his door like a ghost from the stars. He had only known her for a few hours, but something about her felt honest, real. He stood up and held out his hand. "Let's do it." Sierra's eyes widened slightly, then filled with relief. She stood and stepped closer to him. They both took a deep breath and slowly let it out together. Then she gently placed her forehead against his. Callan felt a strange warmth spread across his skin, and the disc in his hand glowed softly between them. "Repeat after me," she said quietly. "From this moment, I accept the bond." Callan echoed. "From this moment, I accept the bond." "I place my trust in you," she whispered. "I place my trust in you," he said. "And until the stars fall silent, let this bond be known." And until the stars fall silent, let this bond be known. The disc blinked once, then dissolved into a gentle pulse of light that spread across their joined hands and vanished. It was done. Sierra stepped back, looking at him. "Thank you, Callan. You've given me more than safety. You've given me my path home." Before he could respond, a loud chime echoed through the outpost. A message flashed on the main console in alien script. Sierra translated, her voice serious. They're landing, and they want to see proof of the bond. Callan nodded, standing straighter. Then let's show them. The silver-blue alien ship landed just beyond the rocky hill behind the outpost. Its soft hum vibrated through the ground, and a quiet tension filled the air. Callan stood near the entrance, looking out, while Sierra remained behind him, her posture calm but alert. "You're sure the bond worked?" Callan asked, glancing over his shoulder. Sierra nodded. "Yes. The bond disk recorded it. My people will sense the energy change around me. They'll know I'm marked, but they might still question you." Callan gave a half smile. "Great. I always wanted to meet alien elders who think I stole their daughter." Sierra smiled, just a little, but her eyes stayed serious. "They don't see it that way. They believe the bond is sacred, powerful. It is meant to protect, not to control. If they believe it's real, they will allow me to return. And if they don't?" Callan asked. "Then we both could be punished," she said softly. The hatch of the alien ship opened, and 3 tall figures stepped out. They wore long robes that shimmered like glass. Their faces were calm, unreadable. 2 were men, and 1 was a woman with a large symbol painted on her forehead. Sierra took a deep breath and walked forward with slow steps. Callan followed beside her. The 3 aliens stopped a few feet away. The one in front spoke, her voice smooth and firm. "Sierra of House Alvanai, you broke the travel bond. You vanished from the diplomatic path. You ran to this world. Explain yourself." Sierra lowered her head with respect. "I was attacked during the journey, separated from my escort. I escaped. I was injured. This human found me and saved me." The elder woman's eyes shifted to Callan. "This one?" "Yes," Sierra said. "He touched you during your vulnerable state." Callan opened his mouth, but Sierra spoke first. "Yes. He carried me. He treated my wounds. He protected me." The elder narrowed her eyes. "Then by law, he must mark you. Has it been done?" Sierra lifted her arm and showed the faint glow still left on her wrist. "The bond was made. I bear his mark." One of the other elders stepped forward, looking at Callan closely. "Human, do you understand what this bond means in our culture?" Callan stood tall, not letting the fear show. Sierra explained it. "I may not be from your world, but I did what I thought was right. I helped someone in need, and I agreed to the bond." The second elder seemed to think for a moment, then stepped back. The lead woman raised her hand. "Then you will show us. If the bond is real, it will respond to a presence test." Callan glanced at Sierra. She nodded once. "Place your hand on mine." They stood side by side. Sierra raised her hand, and Callan placed his over hers. The elder touched her own forehead, and a faint blue wave shimmered between them. A soft pulse of light appeared from where their hands met, calm, steady, alive. The elder watched the light for a few seconds, then slowly nodded. "The bond is true." Sierra let out a slow breath, relief washing over her face. But the elder was not finished. "You may return to us, Sierra, but know this, your bond is not temporary anymore. Once confirmed by the elders, it becomes permanent. You belong to each other in the eyes of our people." Callan stiffened. "Wait, permanent." Sierra turned to him, her voice gentle. "I didn't tell you this part. I wasn't sure if the bond would be accepted. But now it is sealed." The elder continued, "You may choose to return with her, or remain here, but either way, you are now joined." Callan looked at Sierra, searching her face. She looked worried for him, not for herself. He realized then that she had truly been willing to accept any outcome, even if it meant losing everything. I don't know what your world is like," Callan said slowly, "but I won't let you go alone. I'll come with you." Sierra's eyes shimmered, but she said nothing. The elders turned without another word and began walking back toward their ship. The decision had been made. Callan looked at Sira. You sure you're okay with this? She smiled faintly. I was never afraid of the bond. I was only afraid you wouldn't want it. He laughed softly. Well, I guess I've got a lot to learn about your people. And I about yours, she said. As they walked toward the ship together, side by side, the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The stars outside the ship's windows were like thousands of tiny diamonds scattered across black velvet. The ship hummed softly as it traveled through the quiet void of space. Callan sat near the viewing panel, gazing out, his mind still racing from the intense connection he had shared with Sira during a heartbeat test. Everything had happened so fast. One moment, he was repairing equipment on a lonely outpost, and the next, he was on an alien ship, bonded to a mysterious woman from another world. Sira sat beside him, her expression calm, but there was a trace of worry in her violet eyes. She hadn't said much since the heartbeat test, but Callan could tell she was deep in thought. You okay? He asked softly. She nodded, though her voice was low. I'm fine. Just wondering what comes next. I'm still processing everything, Callan said with a faint smile. But I don't regret it. The bond felt real. But I'm also nervous about meeting your people. What if they don't accept us? Sira's gaze drifted to the window. They will accept the bond. But there are always rules. They don't like things that break tradition. And our bond is unconventional. A human and a Velari together. It's never happened before. Callan turned to her. Is that a bad thing? She hesitated. It's not that simple. My people value honor above all else. They will respect the bond, but they will also expect me to choose between my duties and my connection to you. They might see me as weak for choosing an outsider over my own people. Callan frowned, understanding her concern. But that's not fair. You shouldn't have to choose between me and your culture. Sira met his eyes. It's not just about me. It's about what's best for my people. If they feel that I have been led astray, they could punish me. It could mean exile or worse. Callan felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He didn't want her to suffer because of him. I don't want you to lose everything because of this bond. We can figure this out. We'll show them that it's real, that it's not just some mistake. Sira gave him a small smile. I know, but my people won't make it easy. They'll test us. They'll want to see if the bond is genuine, if we can prove that we're strong together. The ship's engines hummed louder, and the starfield outside began to shift. Callan's gaze followed the motion, noticing how the stars blurred into streaks of light as they entered hyperspace. His thoughts were still on the idea of Sira being tested. The thought of her being put through any kind of trial made his chest tighten. What kind of test? He asked. Sira's expression darkened slightly. The elders will want to see if we can stand together under pressure. They'll put our bond to the test, both emotionally and physically. If we can't handle it, the bond will be broken. Callan clenched his fists. What kind of test could they put us through? Sira looked away, her gaze distant. There are many ways. They might challenge us with a task, see if we can work together. They might send us on a mission, one that pushes us to our limits, or they might force us to face our worst fears. Callan didn't like the sound of that. The idea of facing a trial where failure meant losing everything was terrifying. He had never imagined something like this would be the price for helping someone in need. But Sira was right. This wasn't just about him or her. It was about both of their futures. If they couldn't prove themselves, they could be torn apart. Sira reached over and took his hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. We'll face it together. Whatever happens, we'll make it through. Callan looked into her eyes, and for the first time, he saw the depth of the courage she had kept hidden. This wasn't just a ritual for her. It was a fight for her place in her society, and she was willing to risk everything, her honor, her future, to be with him. I won't let them take you away, Callan said firmly. Sira smiled softly. I don't want you to lose everything for me either. But I believe in us. We've already proven that the bond is real. Now, we just need to show my people that it's worth something." The ship slowed, and Callan's heart beat faster as he felt the shift in the atmosphere. They were close. The ship's systems flickered, and a soft voice echoed through the speakers. "Approaching Velari homeworld. Preparing for docking." Sira took a deep breath, her grip tightening around his hand. "Here we go." Callan stood up, his heart pounding in his chest. He had no idea what awaited them on this strange world, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't going to leave Sira behind. Not now, not ever. The ship began its descent, and through the windows, Callan could see the surface of the planet below. A vast, mountainous landscape with shimmering cities scattered across the terrain. It was beautiful, yet imposing. He could only imagine the challenges that lay ahead. As the ship touched down with a soft thud, the ramp lowered, and Callan and Sira exchanged one last glance. "You ready?" he asked. Sira nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." Together, they walked down the ramp, stepping onto the surface of a new world. The ship's inside felt strange to Callan. The walls were smooth like glass, but they pulsed faintly with soft blue light, as if the vessel was alive. The air smelled clean, but not like anything from Earth. It was slightly sweet, like fresh flowers after rain. Sira walked beside him, her steps quiet and graceful. She said nothing at first. The elders led them down a narrow hallway into a round chamber. There were no chairs, just soft cushions along the floor. Strange symbols floated in the air. Holograms, maybe. Callan sat beside Sira. His heart was still racing. He had never imagined he'd leave his outpost like this, or that he'd be inside an alien ship bonded to someone from another world. Sira finally spoke. "They want us to complete the second part of the bond. It's called a heartbeat link." "I thought we already did the bond," Callan asked. She nodded. "We did the base ritual. It made the connection. But now, they want to see if the bond holds truth, or if it was just done to protect me." Callan frowned. "How do they check that?" Sira hesitated, then turned to face him fully. "Through emotion. We must sit close, hold each other's hands, and allow the link to open fully. Our feelings will be shared. Memories might rise. The elders will sense if it's real." Callan felt nervous but nodded. "All right, let's do it." They sat facing each other. Sira took both his hands gently into hers. Her skin was cool but soft. The room dimmed slightly, and the floating lights turned a soft violet. "Close your eyes," she whispered. Callan obeyed. "Now breathe with me. Slow, in and out." As they breathed together, a warmth began to rise between their hands. It wasn't physical heat. It felt more like a soft pull, like the space between them was melting away. Suddenly, Callan felt a wave of emotion that wasn't his. Loneliness, fear, hope. Then an image, a memory, flashed in his mind. Sira, much younger, standing in the rain on a high tower, looking out over a vast city. She was waiting for someone who never came. His eyes opened in surprise. "I saw you, as a child." Sira smiled faintly. "And I saw you, sitting in a small kitchen, eating cold food alone, watching an old video of your family." Callan's heart skipped. "That was from when I was 12. The bond is opening," she said. "This is what they want to feel. Not just words, but truth." More memories came, small moments, shared silently. Callan felt her fear when she was sent to another planet for training. He saw her hiding a drawing in her room, something her culture didn't allow. In return, she saw his pride when he fixed a broken satellite by himself, even when no one said thank you. Time seemed to stop in the room. And then the soft voice of the elder woman returned, though she stood nowhere nearby. "The bond is real." Sira opened her eyes. "They've accepted it." Callan let out a long breath. That was strange, but not in a bad way. She gave him a quiet nod. Few bonds between different species ever pass the heartbeat test. But ours did. Callan looked down at their still joined hands. So what does this mean now? What happens next? Sierra sat back slightly. Now I can return to my family, to my people, without shame. They'll recognize our bond. But there's something else. What is it? She looked unsure for the first time. Because the bond passed the heartbeat test, it's stronger than expected. It won't fade with time. Our thoughts, our feelings, they may continue to cross, even from far away. You mean, I might still feel your emotions, even on Earth? She nodded. And I may feel yours. It is rare, but powerful. We've become linked in a way that is not easy to break. Callan leaned back, trying to absorb it all. He had come to this planet to fix machines, live alone, and complete his work. Now he had somehow formed a connection that went deeper than anything he had ever known. I don't regret it, he said quietly. Sierra looked surprised. You don't? He shook his head. I've never felt anything like that. It was honest, real. And if I had the choice again, I'd still help you. She smiled, a soft glow returning to her cheeks. Then perhaps, this was not a mistake after all. The ship began to move, lifting slowly off the ground. Callan watched the outpost grow smaller through the viewing screen. His old life was behind him now. Ahead, a new one waited, with someone whose heart now beat with his own. The air on the Valari homeworld was thin and crisp, with a faint scent of alien flowers floating on the breeze. The ground beneath Callan's boots was firm but slightly uneven, as if the planet's surface had been shaped by years of natural forces. The sky above was a deep orange, dotted with swirling clouds. Callan felt the weight of the moment press down on him. They were about to meet the elders of Sierra's people, and everything would change now. Sierra stood beside him, her posture tall and proud, though he could see the slight tremor in her hands. She was nervous, but she hid it well. The bond they had formed was real, but now they had to prove it to her people. They walked together toward a large, circular building at the center of the city. The architecture was unlike anything Callan had seen before. Smooth curves, tall pillars that seemed to stretch toward the sky, and intricate designs etched into the stone. The whole place looked ancient, but also alive, as if the structures themselves had grown over time. When they reached the entrance, two guards stepped forward. Their eyes were sharp, their expressions unreadable. They studied Callan for a moment before stepping aside to allow them entry. Inside, the air was cool, and the room was vast. At the far end of the chamber, seated upon a raised platform, were the Valari elders. They wore robes of shimmering fabric, their faces solemn, their eyes focused on the pair before them. Sierra stepped forward first, her head lowered in respect. Elders, she said, her voice steady, but carrying an undercurrent of tension. I have returned. The eldest of the three elders, a tall figure with silver markings on his face, spoke. You return, but not as you left. You carry a human bond. This is unexpected. Callan stepped forward, standing beside Sierra. I came here to help her. I didn't know this bond was a part of your culture. But I am here now, and I will do what it takes to show you that our connection is real. The eldest elder studied Callan carefully. You speak with conviction, human, but words alone will not convince us. The bond you share must be tested. Sierra's grip tightened on Callan's hand. She didn't look at him, but he could feel the weight of her emotions. The fear, the hope, the uncertainty. She had placed everything on the line for this moment. And now so had he. The second elder, a woman with dark blue skin and long silver hair, spoke next. We will test your bond through an ancient trial. You will face a challenge together, and only if you succeed will we acknowledge your connection as valid. What kind of challenge? Callan asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The elder's gaze flickered to the others, and then back to them. a test of your strength, your trust, and your ability to work together. You will be taken to the trials chamber, where you will face a series of trials that will push you to your limits. If you fail, the bond will be considered broken. You will return to your world alone, and Sira will be sent back to ours with the shame of failure. The words hung heavy in the air. Kalen's heart skipped a beat. A test. A trial. This was real. They weren't just going to accept their bond. They were going to make them prove it. Sira spoke, her voice quiet but firm. I understand. I will face the trial. I will not fail. The elder nodded. Then prepare yourselves. The trial begins now. The guards motioned for them to follow, and the elders stood, watching silently. As they walked down a narrow hallway, Sira and Kalen exchanged a glance. There was no turning back now. Whatever came next, they had to face it together. They entered a large, dimly lit room. The floor was made of smooth black stone, and strange symbols were carved into the walls. In the center of the room was a raised platform, and around it stood several strange devices, machines that hummed and glowed with energy. A voice echoed through the room, deep and commanding. You will face 3 trials. The first is a test of strength. The second, a test of trust. The third, a test of unity. Sira stood tall, her expression resolute. We are ready. Kalen nodded, his mind racing. Strength, trust, unity. They weren't just physical tests. This was about their bond, about how well they could work together. He had to trust her, and she had to trust him. The first trial began immediately. The floor beneath them shifted, and suddenly, large stone blocks appeared, rolling toward them with incredible speed. Without thinking, Kalen lunged forward and pushed one of the blocks out of their path. Sira moved with him, effortlessly dodging the other blocks and working with him to clear the way. They moved together in sync, their movements almost mirrored. The blocks continued to roll, faster and faster, but they worked as one. The test wasn't about strength alone. It was about how well they could predict each other's actions, how well they could work in harmony. When the last block was cleared, they stood side by side, breathing heavily but smiling. They had passed the first trial. The second trial was less physical, but no less challenging. A series of platforms appeared before them, high above the ground. The platforms were narrow, and the only way across was to trust each other to help. Sira reached out a hand to Kalen, and he took it without hesitation. Together, they moved across the platforms, balancing each other's weight, relying on each other's strength to keep from falling. There were moments when the platforms wobbled beneath their feet, but they didn't falter. They kept moving, their trust in each other growing with every step. When they reached the final platform, they turned to face the elder, who nodded in approval. You have passed the second trial, the elder said. Now for the final test. The room grew quieter as the last of the platforms disappeared into the stone floor, leaving only the final trial ahead. Kalen and Sira stood, breathing heavily from the exertion of the previous tests. The challenges had tested their strength, their trust, and now it was time for the final test, the one that would determine if their bond was truly unbreakable. The elder who had spoken earlier, the one with silver markings on his face, stepped forward. His expression remained stern, but there was something softer in his eyes now. The third trial, the elder said, is a test of unity. You have proven your strength and trust. Now you must prove that you can overcome everything together. You will face your greatest fears. If you can conquer them together, your bond will be acknowledged. If you fail, you will part ways. Kalen felt his heart tighten. Fears. He glanced at Sira. He could see the uncertainty in her eyes as well, though she tried to hide it. The trials had been difficult, but this one felt different. This one could change everything. Sira spoke first, her voice steady but laced with emotion. We've already faced so much. We've done what they've asked of us. I won't back down now. Kalen nodded, We're in this together. The elder nodded, then raised his hand. The ground beneath them shifted again, this time more violently. The room around them darkened, and the faint hum of the machinery intensified. Callan blinked as the world seemed to blur. When his vision cleared, they were no longer standing in the trials chamber. Instead, they were standing in the middle of a vast, empty landscape. The sky above was stormy and dark, and the air felt heavy, as if something was closing in around them. The ground beneath their feet was cracked, dry, and barren, stretching out in all directions. "Where are we?" Callan asked, his voice echoing strangely in the quiet. "This is the place of your fear," the elder's voice boomed from nowhere. "Here, you will face what lies hidden within you." Callan swallowed. He could feel it, the sense of dread creeping in. It wasn't just the landscape. It was something deeper, a feeling that something was watching them. Something dangerous. He glanced at Sira, who was already looking around. Her eyes narrowed in suspicion. Then, without warning, the ground before them cracked open, and a massive creature emerged from the depths. It was unlike anything Callan had ever seen. Huge, with long, twisting limbs and eyes that glowed with an eerie light. Its body was covered in scales, and it hissed as it moved toward them. Callan's first instinct was to step back, but Sira stood her ground. She didn't seem afraid, though Callan could feel the tension in her body. This creature was terrifying, yet it didn't seem to be attacking them. Not yet, anyway. "I know this fear," Sira said, her voice calm. "It is not real. It is a manifestation of the danger I've always faced. I have always feared my people turning against me. This creature is the fear of being cast aside." Callan took a step closer to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "And I fear losing you," he said softly. "I fear the bond we've built being broken because of something beyond our control. I'd spent so much of my life alone. And now..." He trailed off, but he didn't need to say more. Sira turned to him, her gaze softening. "You're not alone anymore, Callan. You're with me. We are together. And together, we can face anything." The creature seemed to hesitate, its glowing eyes flickering. Callan could feel the weight of the moment, the bond between them growing stronger. It was as if the creature was reading their emotions, testing their resolve. The fear was real, but it wasn't stronger than their connection. Sira raised her hand, her fingers glowing with energy. She spoke in a language Callan didn't understand, and the creature shrieked as if in pain. It paused, then slowly began to retreat back into the ground. "Fear is a choice," Sira said, lowering her hand. "And we've chosen to face it together." Callan felt the weight lift from his chest. The creature disappeared, and the landscape began to shift, slowly returning to normal. The storm clouds cleared, and the ground beneath their feet became solid once again. They were back in the trials chamber. The elder's voice echoed in the room. "You have faced your fears. You have proven your unity. Your bond is true." Callan turned to Sira, his heart racing, not from fear, but from the intensity of the moment. "We did it," he said, his voice full of awe. Sira smiled, her eyes filled with relief and something else. Something deeper, something unspoken. "Together, we can do anything." The elder spoke again, his tone softer now. "Your bond is accepted. You are no longer an outsider to us, human. You have shown that you are worthy of her trust. You will be treated as one of our own." Sira's face lit up, but Callan could see the pride in her eyes. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for believing in us." The elder nodded. "You are now united in more than just name. You are joined in spirit." As the trial ended, the room shifted back to the Valeri city, where they had first arrived. The city now seemed less intimidating, more welcoming. Callan and Sira stood together, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it side by side. "Let's go home," Callan said, his voice full of determination. Sira nodded, her hand finding his once more. "Home is wherever you are." Together, they walked forward into their future, no longer bound by fear, but by the unbreakable bond they had created.